Hola y bienvenidos a Spanish with Magic. Yo soy Maggie y estoy aquí para ayudarte a mejorar tu español y aprender de expertos en idiomas de todo el mundo. En cada episodio exploraremos cosas de la vida cotidiana, temas de actualidad en el mundo hispano y conocerás más sobre la cultura mexicana. Todo esto para conectar con hispanohablantes de todo el mundo. Vamos a comenzar. Welcome to Spanish with Magic. Yes, you are listening right. This episode is going to be in English. Today I have a special guest. He is Oli, the best coach I have ever met. We have known each other for 4 or 5 years, and he has helped me and guided me at many crucial points in my life. I'm so grateful for that, Oli, and I'm 100% sure he's going to help you too with your mindset, and who knows, maybe finally to unblock that part of your mind that will make you reach your full potential in the language that you're learning. So let's start, and welcome, Oli. Thank you so much for being here, and please tell us something about you.
Hi, thanks so much, Magali, for inviting me. And my name is Oli. I'm a mindset and anxiety coach for online entrepreneurs and for online teachers. And it's my intention that the answers to these questions are useful for you. I typically work with fear and anxiety and cause changes not just at the logical level of the mind, but also at the deeper unconscious level of the mind, so that the change feels natural, automatic, and lasting.
What are some of the most common causes of anxiety that language learners experience?
The way that I think about anxiety and what causes anxiety is a bit different to what you'd normally hear. So I think that anxiety is caused by the way the mind processes information. And with fear and anxiety, what's going on is the unconscious mind is perceiving a threat, and the unconscious mind understands things as happening now. So it's perceiving a threat right now, and it's causing fear. And some of the ways this might show up for language learners, perhaps when they go to try out new phrases, and there's a fear of judgment or criticism. Maybe you don't want to make a mistake, and that could be because of what's happening now, and it also could be because of previous experiences in your life where you tried out things and things didn't go the way you wanted to, and a lot of stuff that kind of gets slammed in our minds at school in terms of getting perfect scores and A's on tests. And so that can all affect things.
How does this anxiety manifest itself in terms of behavior and learning?
In terms of behavior and learning, anxiety and fears in language learners can be avoiding maybe speaking, so focusing on learning, on listening and reading and writing, and not kind of taking those chances and opportunities to actually speak up and speak out and learn from mistakes. So there might be some procrastination or holding back on speaking, which, as you know, is one of the fastest ways to improve learning from mistakes. And it may also be overthinking things, overthinking your writing or overthinking your speaking, and trying to avoid making mistakes. And another thing is there might be these thoughts in your mind where you sort of predict negative outcomes, or the thoughts like, what if this happens, or what if that happens? And usually there's almost like a soundtrack of unhelpful thoughts that don't exactly make things easier.
Talking about this, it's common that when we start thinking negative thoughts, it's like a snowball. It becomes a snowball. It's better to do something to stop those thoughts, like the technique that you're going to share with us later on. And, well, what general tips can you give language learners to manage anxiety and improve their learning experience?
To manage anxiety and improve your learning experience, I would say push up against the edges of your comfort zone. So in a way that your nervous system doesn't get totally overwhelmed. So it might be that you do something that's a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit more than you would normally do. Perhaps having a conversation about a topic that you don't normally talk about, or try using some words that you haven't used before. And each time you do it, regardless of how it goes, really appreciating that you did it. And when you move towards something in that way, especially if you don't need to, then you show your unconscious mind that actually this is something that is not dangerous. So you're showing your mind, we survive these type of things. This is safe. It's okay to speak. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be misunderstood. And actually, I can learn from that feedback, and I can keep moving forwards.
I'd like to add that not only it's okay, it's normal. People make mistakes in their native language too, all the time. So maybe changing a little bit our perspective could help. Please, can you explain rapid resolution therapy techniques and how they could help with language learning anxiety?
So the way that unconscious change work and RRT techniques are different is that it's not so much about coping with anxiety. A lot of techniques and approaches can be really useful for coping with anxiety, like mindfulness and mindful breathing, and techniques like EFT tapping can be really good and really fast at helping you to cope with the sensations and even the racing thoughts that come with anxiety. But what unconscious change work does is it causes shifts to happen in how your mind is actually producing those thoughts and sensations. And therefore, things become automatic. Changes become automatic and lasting. And so your unconscious mind no longer perceives threat in the same way. So perhaps you can think of, if you're a content creator, or if you've made videos, maybe the first few times you did them, you felt really nervous. But then over time, that nervousness kind of went away. Or maybe there's a different example you can think of about something that you first tried and you were fearful. But then over time, your unconscious mind learned that this thing isn't actually dangerous. And so what unconscious change work does is it basically causes that realization to happen for your mind, so that you can then start speaking more confidently, or you can start engaging in conversations or using vocabulary or structures that perhaps you wouldn't have used before because there was some fear there. The unconscious change work helps the fear to kind of disappear. And it's not that you never feel fear, but it's just that it doesn't hold you back in the same way.
Can you give us examples of how rapid resolution therapy techniques can address anxiety related to speaking a foreign language?
An example of how an RRT or unconscious change work would address anxiety related to speaking is, let's say you are going into your board meeting at work and you're giving a presentation in front of your peers and in front of your manager, and previously you may have noticed that there was a lot of fear and anxiety, and maybe even your mind would freeze and you wouldn't be able to think of words or remember things. What these techniques would do is to address that fear across your whole mind and cause changes and shifts in how you automatically deal with the situation by changing the way your mind is processing that information. And so the deeper levels of your mind would no longer be seeing a boardroom as the same as a predator trying to eat you, and you would be seeing it with more clarity, and therefore you'd be able to think more strategically, think more clearly, be more alert as you're speaking. And this is done with a variety of techniques that are similar to guided imagery, using very specific language and metaphors and narrative techniques that help your whole mind to see the situation very differently.
And how can we overcome social comparison and focus on our own progress in language learning?
It's very normal to compare yourself to other speakers and other learners. It's something that happened right back at school. And yet, for a lot of people, it can cause additional suffering, right? It's not so fun to be comparing. And so when you focus on your own progress and when your mind really gets that it's just you on your path, and the only progress that makes sense to measure against is how you were before, because everyone's at a different level and everyone is different. And so seeing yourself as uniquely you on your own journey, and getting that message to really sink down to the deeper levels of your mind is really beneficial, because it means you're free to just enjoy the process a lot more. So you can train your mind by noticing the moments where you do things that were challenging. So maybe you try out a new word, or maybe you put yourself in a situation where previously you wouldn't have. And so you notice with appreciation those things that you are enjoying about your journey. And really, no one else's journey is the same as yours. So it doesn't really make any sense to be comparing that, because they're not you. No other life form is comparing itself to any other. If you spoke to a tree and said, "Hey, are you not worried that that other tree seems to be growing much faster than you?" You know, the tree would just say, "What do you mean?" Or say nothing at all, right? So it's only us with our human minds that can really conceive of that notion that other people could be further ahead, and I don't see that as a useful way to think. So when your whole mind gets that it's just you on your unique journey, and there's no one to measure your progress against anymore. That was something that happened maybe in school, but now as an adult, it's just you and you.
I really like that metaphor of the tree and the nature. It really got me in one of our sessions. when I was intending to go further and beyond and thinking that I wasn't doing enough. But you're right, everyone has its own journey. And this is so important too. How can we deal with impatience and enjoy the language learning process?
I think a lot of the time, impatience comes from this idea that there is a better future moment. A moment almost like a imagined snapshot in time where everything will be perfect. And for language learning, maybe that's like, and then I'll be fluent. And there's like this image of you where you're fluent. But in reality, is it like that? Won't you always want to keep improving and growing and learning? So when you get that there isn't actually a finish line and the process is ongoing, then that creates more space to enjoy the process. Find ways that you can make things special for you. How can you enjoy those moments where you take time to practice? What can you do that's enjoyable for you? And if you can build that in and really get that there is no end point, this is a journey and it continues as long as you want it to continue, and you'll continue to progress forward. And really, then I think that really helps this impatience melt away and you can be more present on the journey. So look out for the ways in which you are making progress now. Look out for the ways in which you are enjoying the process now. What is it that you did today for your language learning journey that you can notice and appreciate right now? And that will bring things into the present moment more. And really that's where you're taking your steps. That's where we are.
Well, being grateful always changes our mindset and makes us being aware of our process in the present moment, as you said. And how can we embrace making mistakes as a natural part of learning a new language? Because sometimes it's easier to be said than done, or to believe it. But tell us, please.
I think embracing making mistakes comes from really getting that they're not dangerous. So even though logically you might think that making mistakes isn't dangerous, and you know that there isn't a predator that is going to eat you if you make a mistake, your unconscious mind doesn't really get that. It thinks that if you make a mistake, then that must mean that a lion is about to eat you. So that's why it's been causing the fear, or why it's been causing those thoughts and those worries to try and keep you safe. And so embracing mistakes is really seeing them with clarity, that mistakes are useful. They are actually a much more effective way to learn than to get things right. You know, I remember when I was just learning to play chess, and I waited for so long because I was trying to get things, you know, I thought it would be such a difficult thing to learn. In the end, I was just like, oh, I don't care. So I just started playing, and I started losing, and I lost so many games. And really, I learned so much from that I started learning the techniques that people were beating me with. And so making mistakes is really valuable. And actually, when you see it that way, when you see them as valuable and start moving towards situations that will cause you to make mistakes, then you'll learn much faster. Because think about it, the ones who are just putting themselves into it and making mistakes, they get more feedback, and they get feedback quicker. And when you have feedback quickly, then you can really move fast. And when you hold back, and try and get things perfect before you say something, or try and get things perfect before you move forwards, then you end up waiting a long time to get that same feedback.
Well, that is really useful to know. Could you share some technique that we can use when we feel anxiety before speaking our target language?
If you're feeling anxious before speaking, there are many things you can do, but here's a very simple technique that you can use. Take a deep breath, and then as you're exhaling, close your eyes and just kind of blow out like dark smoke. Like if you think smoke that comes from a chimney, blow out that smoke all the way out until there's no breath left, and you exhale fully. And then breathe in a nice bright color. Maybe it's a white light or a color that pleases you. And just do that one breath. So you're releasing that dark smoke and breathing in the light, bright color. And that's symbolic. That's a way of showing your mind that it's okay. And also when you exhale, and you exhale for a long time, longer than you inhale, you teach your nervous system that actually there's no threat right now. So if we think there's no other life form in the wild that would be breathing really slowly if there was a predator about to eat it, if we think of a rabbit and the rabbit is breathing slow exhale, that wouldn't make any sense to do if there was a wolf chasing it. So when you do that, when you breathe slow and exhale slowly, you teach your nervous system that actually right now in this moment you are safe. And you can remind yourself you've done hard things before, you've survived them, and this is just another one of those things, and you'll be fine. You'll survive it.
And what final advice would you give language learners struggling with anxiety?
So as my final words, I would say that if you've been struggling with fears and anxieties around your language learning journey, then firstly, that's pretty normal, and it's okay. And the more you put yourself in situations where it's just a bit outside of your comfort zone, the more you will get used to it and grow. And if it's something that's been significantly difficult for you, as in it's impacting things in a big way and you really are struggling to take action or struggling to speak and practice in the way that you want, then I would suggest reaching out to someone. You can get in contact with me. I also have a free anxiety reset audio that you can listen to, which is a really fast and useful way to kind of push reset on your nervous system. And I think you'll find that really useful.
Thank you so much, Oli, for this interview. And if you want to contact Oli, you can do it on Instagram. I'm going to write his handle in the comments, in the description of this episode, olicooke.coaching. And excellent. Thank you. Until next episode. Bye bye. Gracias por escuchar Spanish with Magic. Si te gustó este episodio, compártelo para llegar a más apasionados del español y déjame tu reseña para que lleguemos a más personas. Sígueme en redes sociales como Spanish Lang Lovers. También puedes apoyar el podcast en Buy Me a Coffee /Magic para obtener contenido exclusivo como transcripciones y acceso a nuestro grupo de conversación mensual. Hasta el próximo episodio.